Welcome back to another episode of A Feminine Moment. I am Cherry Lynn, and I'm here with Dixie and Forsyth and her husband, Dr. Robert Forsyth. Hi.
Hi.
Dixie is the author of Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman, now an international Amazon bestseller. We're so excited to have both of you here today. One particular message that we got that we are rather inspired by to kind of have this video is this message from this woman that has been friends with a man for a while, no relationship, nothing romantic yet, but she is hoping that it would be romantic. But he has said to her on multiple occasions that he doesn't think they're compatible and basically that he's not interested in a relationship, but he continues to communicate with her. And I think the reason why we chose this particular question is we do get a lot of questions from ladies about wanting more commitment from men and feeling very confused, saying, I hear the term mixed signals a lot. So we'd love to hear your advice.
Really, so much of this depends on what kind of a foundation you have, how far it's developed, and understanding some of the different levels that we relate to one another on. And how they develop is really important. So I got to say, somebody really ought to read your book.
Well, and I'm glad he brought that up, because in the women who are asking this question, in Timeless, we talk about, like Bob said, the levels of relationship. When you first meet someone, you might meet someone in line at the grocery store and you say, hi, how are you doing? If you are in line long enough, you might say, where are you from? Have you lived here all your life? Those are just kind of getting to know you kind of questions. Then if you get along really well, now probably not someone you meet in a line, but somebody else you meet as a casual acquaintance.
If it progresses beyond
that, then it should progress next to an emotional relationship. And that means where you share how you feel about things. You might talk about how you feel about politics or your job or your family. And you might, and that allows that other person in a little more. You share with him, but he also reciprocates in sharing with you. And once you've developed that, most men have some kind of wall of reserve built around something. Some have very thick walls based on stuff they've experienced in the past that you are not even had nothing to do with. Their families, they're just their personal experiences. Do you develop that emotional relationship? Now, this woman particularly that you're talking about, it doesn't sound like they have a very solid emotional relationship.
Right.
Friends, you can be superficial intellectual friends for a long time. And if you don't share feelings, and then you get to spiritual intimacy. Spiritual intimacy we refer to as sharing your feelings about the deeper meanings of life, belief in God.
Not necessarily religious, but maybe
it could
more.
Be, but not necessarily. It may or may not be.
More spiritual, meaning of life.
Well, spiritual are things that are
values
that you protect the most, that you don't share. Like if you had a real meaningful dream or something that you really meant a lot to you, and you don't share it with somebody unless you're really close to them. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. If you had a spiritual kind of experience or felt some kind of a breakthrough, and then after that, if you have all that in place, then the physical intimacy is the next natural logic thing. And by physical intimacy, I don't mean you shouldn't ever hold someone's hand or anything. And so,
well, you're saying that you can jump into the lowest common denominator, and that's a physical intimacy, way before you have any foundation for your relationship. And to me, a relationship has to develop in sort of I call it kind of a reciprocal way. I mean, at each level, you get feedback from one another, and you find out what your comfort level is in that particular stage.
And so the job of the woman, our role, we can be very good at this. We have a lot of natural talent at this if we develop it, which is learning to be sensitive, because we tend to be more sensitive to that. Say you're feel like you've gone beyond the intellectual relationship to more emotional. This woman who you were communicating with doesn't sound like she's picking up cues from him on the intellectual
or building.
Yeah, she needs to build that and not say, hey, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Because she should be picking up cues, and if she's not, it can tend to be kind of like, it can tend to make him emotionally trust her less because she's not picking up on his cues.
Yeah, you can get like they say, the cart before the horse. You can get things out of sync
because of being eager, or
relationships are kind of complex. And I think that women have more natural relationship sensitivity, interest, and even skill. Men are a little more awkward in this regard, in that not always in touch with their feelings, and sometimes in terms of, okay, I've got this attractive woman that's interested in me. It's a fairly simple kind of a concept, whereas I think a woman is often thinking more about all the relationship pieces and what this all means and what it's all leading to, where it's going, and she wants to know all of that and get to that nice romantic and meaningful and intimate part very quickly. And he's a lot slower at that.
And I'll bet, wouldn't you, that he hasn't even sat around and thought, how do I feel about her? He's just reacting.
Right.
And he's not thinking, she's examining the relationship. Where are we at? But instead of doing that, would be better and more productive is if she focused on developing that relationship. If they've gone past the intellectual part, which if they've said they've been friends for a long time, they're obviously not emotionally connected, or he would feel.
Well, he's got some distractions when he says we're not compatible, even though they seem to have maybe some good conversations. He's got something else that's distracting him. Mm-hmm. He's not focused on that particular relationship, at least not very much. Maybe just as a side thing. And so she needs to pick up.
Lonely, and it's great for when I'm lonely. Or
and she may need to pick up on this and realize that, he's not really investing much. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's reacting to her and her investment, but you can't. I don't know. You can't push a rope. This sounds like a guy that's got a lot of other things going on, and he likes maybe keeping her interested or on the string, but he's not really putting a lot of effort into this. And I find women are often a lot more focused on or interested in the relationship, and men are a little more, I shouldn't say it maybe, but they're a little more target oriented. And I think that they maybe have more of a simple approach to things, and I think men like attention, and so if they've got somebody they can get a little attention when they want it, that's great. Now, I don't know whether she's ever met this guy, or I don't know how.
Yes,
we don't know enough. We don't really know enough about this to really.
There's a fine line between being too forward with some men, because a lot of men still like to be the main pursuers. Mm-hmm. They like to feel like, I'm interested in this person, and if they're interested, our sons used to say, if I'm interested in a girl, I'll pursue them. If I'm not going to be more interested if they pursue me. Mm-hmm. And both of our boys did that.
That's right.
And maybe some men that are different, but still, I think a lot of men are that way. And this one was that way. And, when you mentioned that, I thought about when we were dating and how that would have gone over if I had done that. He would have probably been less available. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I think it's been so long ago, you've erased the memory of any of these other girls I ever knew, but I'm just thinking that if a girl seemed to be putting so much energy into this and trying to maybe stir up more interest than there was there, I don't think that that wasn't positive for me. That was a negative, and I would tend to pull away.
Don't ask a guy if he's interested in.
Yeah,
because in all my dating, and I don't know about yours, but all my dating, nobody ever said that. That subject never came up.
It always feels like it should be, at least just in my experience, it feels like it should be natural between the two of you.
Yeah, are you in love with me, or do you like me? You don't ask those things. You don't ask those things. Because they give you signs, lots of signs, and talking to you, calling you is positive, but it doesn't mean that they're not dating somebody else.
Let me ask you this. We did a video about hinting a while back. How does that apply to this? Or does it apply to this?
I can see we both have something to say. Why don't you say something?
Well, I'm just saying I don't know that guys really get hints, or if they do see a hint, again, it's not a positive in a relationship. I find sometimes Dixie will hint about something.
I know. I still
I don't even know. She says later, I hinted for something for Christmas, and you didn't even. I just didn't notice.
Okay, let's clarify that. This is interesting because this is how some men really don't. Okay, like I said to him once, because he sometimes said, I don't know what to get you for Christmas. So a year or so ago, I said, remember how you said you'd like hints from me? And I said, okay, here's one. I would really like the such and such from such and such.
I don't remember you saying that part.
And
you want me to give you.
I said, and it's in this catalog, and you want something I really like this. He said, oh, good to know. And then he didn't do it. So that was a hint, but he said he wanted a hint. So that's how some men really don't he was probably had his mind on something else that day. So you said you don't even remember me saying that.
Yeah, I don't remember. Do
you still want a hint for Christmas? If you don't hint, should you just come right out and ask him? And yes. The answer is no. No. Why not? It's not charming, for one thing. That is not good psychology. It's not charming. It doesn't tend to work well, just like hinting. And trying to get someone to commit to you and be more the aggressor doesn't usually end well.
Well, it's like if somebody says, do you love me? That's a tough question. And
well, if they say yes, you feel like, do they saying that just because I asked? If it doesn't come from them, spontaneous from them, it doesn't mean that much, because you think, oh, what if I hadn't asked for it, he wouldn't have said it.
What about the ladies that go out there and they just say, they are the ones that say, I love you first?
The women?
Yeah.
Depends on the men. Some men, if they're real insecure and really need that, but a majority of men, I don't know about majority. I don't have statistics, but I think a lot of men would prefer to feel like they're the main pursuer. Even if a woman does it subtly. Read Timeless then. I recommend for all single ladies, read Timeless, not just the chapter for singles, because the entire book has a lot of stuff for singles. It's just that it's for singles and married. And then we have one special chapter for unique singles issues like dating and things like that. But when you read Understanding Men, helping to help him to encourage him to break the wall of reserve, becoming close to him. If you were indispensable to him emotionally, you're not going to have to try to talk him into anything.
Right, lay the foundation, and the rest of it will come. Really, this is a study. This is learning, really learning relationship and meaningful intimacy skills.
We're really bombarded today with so much feminist attitude that women, it's become even part of our culture. And a lot of times, like the women that are asking guys out on dates and pursuing them, they almost turn the roles around. And then they're surprised that guys don't particularly care for, at least certain guys. They don't particularly care for that. And so then they think, what happened? Because they assume that's the normal thing to do. And so when you study Timeless and the whole subject of Fascinating Womanhood, it can really help you to see what great advantages you have being female.
And where to focus your your energies and your emotions. You know, I mean, I think that it's so easy to want, you know, I want this great romance and great relationship, but you know, there's some things that go into that if it's going to be lasting and if it's really going to work.
What we are good at is we talk about influence versus it's feminine power. You see it in movies, but you don't know that's what it is. You see it in stories, and you don't think, "Hey, that is feminine power." But as a guy, think, "I don't know what happened. I just totally fell head over heels in love with this woman, and had no idea that what she did,
what all went into
it." Mm-hmm. It isn't just because she's beautiful, because we see women every day that marry guys, and you think they're not particularly attractive. Okay, maybe sometimes not even very attractive, and the guy's crazy about her. So it isn't just looks.
We live in a world that has sort of somehow separated relationship and maybe physical intimacy and stuff. You know, there's no, that's kind of lost its value and its connection. You know, like pleasure versus responsibility. And, you know, I think we need to connect those back up and help people understand how to really build a great relationship over time, because that's really what's lasting, puts a meaning in your life.
Everybody wants that. Everybody assumes it's going to last the rest of their lives. It's going to last forever. And they also assume they're going to have that same in-love feeling forever too. And then they sometimes start thinking, oh, that does never happen. It never happens to anyone, but it does. But you have to start out in dating, in building, beginning to build that. And then once you do get married, then you work to keep it.
You know, I think what I appreciate about our relationship is we have spent really decades connecting up on all of these different levels. And we have a true, complete, full relationship over time. And I don't think there's anything that can compare to that.
And it doesn't have a whole lot to do with time, because I know, how long did you guys date? And I know this is just you guys. This is just the two of you.
We were engaged 6 weeks. We dated 4 months. 4 months.
Yeah, a few months. Mm-hmm.
That's rather fast, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. I didn't think so at the time. I thought, when am I going to do this? I was 19, and now I look back and think, no wonder my dad was wondering if I was too young, you know. But at the time, I thought, I'm a full-grown adult.
I had dated a lot, and I was, 22 when we got married, and I had dated quite a bit, and I think you could sometimes build this fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know that there's any set time or anything, but I think we got to be friends, and then we just
start spending
more and more time together.
Every spare minute.
And, you know, I found when I was with her, I felt like I was home.
Yeah, and I think it's important to bring that up as an example, because it could be different for everyone. You know, the amount of time you date. It's not about the time, is what you guys are saying. It's about as you were speaking to earlier, the levels that you accomplish together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we, for those who have been married before, you may want to take a little more time. We didn't have any exes or any children from previous relationships. It gets a little more complicated, and you have to consider all those variables when you're doing it for the second time. But some people marry for the first time and they've dated for 6 years. I mean, it's not all one thing.
Yes. So one final question for the ladies out there that may be watching this and going, you know, light bulb. What are some things? I know you talked about picking up cues. I think that was a big one for me that I took away, is like picking up cues from the man. What are some things that the ladies can do out there that are in a situation like this right now, and they know, oh, I've been a little too aggressive, or I feel like now I want to pull back a little bit, right?
I remember you said something to me that I never forgot when we were early married. You said when you were young, you were talking to your mother about finding this guy that was going to be the perfect guy for you. And she said, well, write down a list of everything you want in a guy. Is that kind of what she said?
I think it made it in the book. We had so many edits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. She said, she gave me this piece of paper, and it was about this big. And she said, write down everything you want in a guy, no holds barred. So that was fun. I wrote that. It was really long.
That was easy.
And then I said, okay, I did it. She said, anything you want. So then she turned the paper over and said, now write all the things that guy is going to be looking for or deserve in the woman that he wants. And then
work on yourself.
It took me a little longer to write that one.
Yeah.
But then she says, the side that says what that guy's going to want, tape it up on your wall in your bedroom and focus on that and try to become that, and then you'll attract the guy on the other side.
I love that. I think that's so great.
And I don't know where she got that from, but I remember her telling me, and I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. I could see when I wrote it that this dream guy I wanted would also want something himself. He's just not like a piece of meat that I go shop for.
And guess what? I can work on myself.
Yes.
With more benefit and result than I can try to change somebody else.
Exactly.
You know?
And so as relating to some of these ladies that say that, back off of trying to make it go too fast and concentrate more on developing the relationship, looking for cues, and don't force talking about feelings either, because guys aren't as in touch with verbally when it comes to talking, but experiences that you can have together. Find ways to understand him, learn about him, what are his interests, what is he doing, and concentrate on him more than the actual relationship.
Yes,
and see what happens.
Love it. Such great advice. Thank you so much for all the sharing today. I think this has been really helpful. And thank you so much, Bob, for being here.
Thank you.
For
being here and helping us. I think it's so great when we can have the male perspective on some of these subjects. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. I will post links to purchase Dixie's book down below, as well as the workbook, the home study guide that goes along with her book, which is really, really helpful. Definitely recommend that, along with finding us on Facebook, Instagram, all the places you can find us on social media, and it will be attached down below.
We're newly on GoFundMe.
Yes, that's attached as well. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.